Hi, today we'll be presenting on our cross-cultural topic about the behavioral and motivational differences between collectivist and individualistic culture. Hi, I'm Aisha. I'll be starting with the introduction of this topic. So all across history, the survival of humanity is indeed dependent on the emergence of culture. Culture is now widely understood as the collection of values and beliefs that individuals hold on how the system, both nature and society, works. Most individuals are influenced by culture to conduct in accordance with accepted social practice and ideals. In recent study, researchers discovered that the cultural component of individualism and collectivism has a significant and causal impact on creativity as well as the long-run development of a country. There is a vast body of literature in cultural psychology that discusses this issue. With that, our aim is to seek to understand the behavioral and motivational differences that exist between individualism and collectivism. In fact, individualism and collectivism both constituted with distinct and interrelated conceptions of a self, which are the most well-studied cultural aspects of psychology. Okay, now I'll be talking about what is the meaning of individualism and also collectivism culture. So, in individualism, individual acts as an individual rather than as a member of group. It is also stresses personal rights and accomplishment, in which in this individual society, personal achievements and other acts that distinguish an individual are rewarded with social status. Apart from that, individualistic society encourages individuals to establish separate senses of self, where it is normal to think of oneself as distinct or unique, even from your close relatives. It is also noted that individualistic society encourages individuals to develop one's own interests, motive, and also personality. This individualism culture also values privacy and own personal views. Okay, now is the collectivism culture. So in this culture, it stresses individuals' inclusion in a larger social structure, which means individuals are incorporated into groups. It also urges people to stick together while discouraging them from being unique or standing out. This collectivist culture further encourages individuals to cultivate interdependent self, in which individuals essentially see themselves as interconnected with other people. This collectivist culture also values healthy relationship functionality, which means an individual has no right to have their own personal motive, interest, or personality. As for the measure, it is a measurement of individualism and collectivism in a country. So, individualism and collectivism can coexist within an individual or a culture. The level of individualistic and collectivistic beliefs varies across culture according to a scale established by Kurt Hofstede. So, Hofstede in 1980 devised a quantitative ranking system that arranges countries based on the persistence of individualism and also collectivism within its national society. For example, the United Kingdom ranked first among the European countries in terms of individualism, with a score of 89 on the Individualism Collectivism Index. So these scores represent how a country can represent both individualism or collectivism.
Hi, so my name is Tunku Izni. I'll be talking about the cultural elements of this presentation, which is the behavioral and motivational differences between collectivistic and individualistic culture. So first of all, under behavior differences, we focus on the decision-making process. It is regarded as a logical, universal act in human behavior because it is something that each and every one of us experience every day. So because most cultures will face opportunities and challenges that necessitate making decisions among the options given, it differs between the collectivistic and individualistic culture. So collectivistic culture, they are more concerned on how their actions and decisions will affect their in-groups. So for example, a parent from a collectivistic culture would actually sacrifice their promotion to travel given by her or his company just to ensure that their children's academic needs are met, just to monitor their everyday homework. And young adults from collectivistic culture would actually do the same in order to take care of their elderly parents, and we actually gain satisfaction from doing so. While it actually differs from individualistic culture, because individualistic culture, they emphasize on the rationality, the objectivity of the decision while considering only their own beliefs and values. So we can actually see high rate of divorce cases in individualistic culture. This is just because they cannot and they aren't able to willing compromise their career to meet their family needs. Moving on, the second element under behavior differences that we're focusing on is the way of thinking. This is because individualistic and collectivistic culture actually think differently. So analytical thinkers, they will assign items or objects to classes based on specific and rigid rules, while holistic thinkers, they will assign classifications depending on the meaning and the purpose that they interpret. So apparently, Hussein 2018 found that analytic thinking is actually correlated with those from individualistic culture, while holistic thinking is actually correlated from those in collectivistic culture. So let's move on to motivational differences. As we all know, individuals, human beings will actually act according to their personal interests and values, as per self-determination theory by Daisy and Ryan mentioned before, which they focus on the extrinsic and intrinsic motivation of human beings. So actually, the desire to stand out is the central motivation distinction between collectivistic and individualistic culture. This is because it is found that when people are asked to rank various types of shapes, Americans, they tend to pick this unique and uncommon shapes, while Asians like us would prefer to pick the common and typical shapes. So I'll be passing on to my colleague Pauline, where she will provide all the empirical evidences to support our statements here.
Hi, I'm Pauline, so I'll be presenting the empirical evidence of this study in order to support our culture element. So the first element is decision-making process, done by Franks in 2013, found that individualism are more logical and objective, while for collectivism they are more dependent and more likely to compromise the interests of members. One of the example is if a company that promotes individualism might encourage employees to secure personal benefit by finding ways to outperform co-workers, while in collectivism will always take into account of their members' interests. And for the second element is way of thinking. A study done by Ronald in 2012 found that individualists is an analytic thinkers, as they will group the object based on specific, while for collectivists they are holistic thinkers, as they will group the object based on contextual and functional relationship. For example, analytic thinker will group a notebook and a magazine together. Holistic thinker will group a notebook and pencil together. This is because both notebook and magazine are made out of paper, while for collectivism they think that a notebook and pencil complement each other and functionally related, as pencil can be used to describe the notebook. There is another example on American and Asia will offer the option to select a pen in which majority of the pen were in one color and the minority pen are in different color. So the study showed that the Americans are more likely to choose a minor color, while for Asian they prefer a pen in the majority colors. So the third element is extrinsic and intrinsic motivation. According to Chen and colleagues, done a study in 2018 mentioned that Asian are known as collectivist culture are more likely to motivate themselves by extrinsic rewards, including societal expectation, while for Westerners, they are known as individualist culture. They are more likely to motivate themselves by intrinsic interest. However, there is a consequence in an Asian study. Intrinsic motivation correlate with academic performance, for example, making one's parent proud, while in Western study, extrinsic motivation correlate with academic performance, as they will study hard in order to get good results.
Hello, now I will talk about the implications of this study. The first implications of this study is the collectivists and individualists will view the government and higher authorities differently. As for the individualistic culture, they view the government as suspicious of potential violation on one's motivation for self-achievement. However, for the collectivistic culture, they emphasize on the importance of having a compassionate government rather than a malignant one. This is because the compassionate government, they play a vital role in establishing peace and order among various clans and tribes. The second implication of this study is individualists who live in a collective state will suffer from collective action problems. For example, individualistic culture will only participate in collective activity if they are offered with individual rewards or if they gain something out of it, while the collectivistic culture will be more just willing to just volunteer. Nevertheless, just because the collective action is simpler in a collectivistic culture, it does not guarantee that more people will want to participate in it. The third implications of this study is the sense of freedom, fellowship, and equality are being valued differently between individualistic and collectivistic culture. As for the equality principle is very important. This is because the discrimination will limit the freedom of those who are least protected by the law. However, given the disparity in beliefs towards the importance of being protected by the law, equality will be valued less and hierarchy will be favored more. This can be seen to provide more peace to the society when it is ruled by a powerful patriarch. As for the freedom, in individualistic cultures, freedom is the utmost important because it allows people to climb self-actualization. While the collectivistic culture, the principles of freedom will be diminished because high level of freedoms can jeopardize people unity. As for the fellowship, individualist culture will involve fraternal actions in order to support other individualists as they focus more on the code of ethics. It can determine how the decent individual should act. This difference might be subtle in comparison to collectivistic culture, because the collectivistic culture are obliged to behave decently specifically towards their group, while the individualistic culture are expected to behave decently towards everyone. Next, I will pass to Aisha to conclude about this topic.
To summarize, this collectivism and individualism culture may coexist within an individual and culture, and they are neither wrong or right, as there are times when both will be utilized. However, thorough research is needed and theories must be explored before drawing a conclusion. With that, the study on cross-cultural psychology has proven that the individualism and collectivism division is essential and has many aspects. According to a research done back in 2003, individualism and collectivism contradiction are not just variation of views and beliefs, but also in theories and also reality. With that, we hope this infographic poster further contributes to a deeper understanding of the concept of individualism and also collectivism as cultural differences.